Katherine. How are you?
Hi, Christy. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today. Um, I met Katherine. Oh my gosh, we've known each other now 3 years. Yeah,
Yes,
I
about
think
three
about
years.
3 years, yeah. Katherine was working at the JCC at the time, and you came to a seasoned conversations as a speaker and talked about JCC at the time. And I was right. I think the timing was just perfect for the spring expo, senior expo that you guys have, or I think still
Mhm.
have, that the
Yes.
JCC still does. And so from there, Catherine and I got to know each other. We hang out in a lot of the same circles with all people who service older adults. And now Catherine is with Angel Valley Hospice, and you guys are doing such a great job. They are taking care of my mother-in-law right now, and we really do appreciate what you guys are doing. I think it's amazing the quality of life that has improved for my mother-in-law on hospice care, and a lot of people
Oh, good.
don't even realize that. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation. I hope that people can come away from our 20-minute video or whatever we're going to end up doing and know a little bit more about hospice care and know a little bit more about when it happens for their family, how and what they need to do. So tell everyone a little bit about how you got involved in hospice care, because um, you weren't doing that when we first met, but you are now. So let's talk
That
about
is a
that.
very good question, Christy. I was working for 10 years as the senior program director at the JCC, the Jewish Community Center. And it was basically working with active seniors and providing educational programs and exercise programs. We provided a great lunch every single day in coordination with the Dallas Area Agency on Aging. And as you mentioned, I ran the annual senior resource fair called the Senior Expo for 10 years. And I got to meet wonderful people like you. Angel Valley Hospice was a group of professionals coming in that had been in the hospice world for many years in different roles with different companies. And these professionals met and decided to form their own company, knowing what they liked and what they didn't like by seeing what was out there in our competition. There's over
Yeah.
700 hospice companies in the DFW area.
Wow.
That being said, they were also going after a special accreditation, making sure that they could help people of all different faiths and cultures. So they were getting a special accreditation in Jewish hospice, which takes quite a lot of hoops to jump through. And they brought themselves to the Jewish Community Center and asked for someone who could introduce them to the community. And because of my role in the resource fair, Angel Valley Hospice was introduced to me. And I sat on their advisory board for several months. And basically, we fell in love with each other because we were all on the same page with wanting to help seniors in a very different and very compassionate way. And they asked me to join the team, and here I am. And I had to learn a lot about hospice, going from active agers to people that are requiring hospice.
Well, a lot of people maybe don't really understand everything that hospice does do. Can you talk a little bit about what are the services that hospice provides to a family and their loved one?
Absolutely. So, when a person is no longer seeking active care for a disease, that they've gone through all of the medical possibilities and they no longer are getting any more help or curative opportunities, they now want to be comfortable. They want to spend the rest of their lives in a comfortable position, maybe in their home, maybe in a community. And that is precisely what we do. When you bring us in, it's almost as if you're bringing a hospital to your home, to where you're living. And what I mean by that is you no longer have to go out to medical appointments. All of your medical care is taken care of by our medical team. You no longer have to look around and get prescriptions for any infection that should arrive, like a UTI or a bad head cold. That will be provided by us in addition to your regular medication. Now, let's say you don't have all of the durable medical equipment, such as bedding, beds, medicine, tables, special catheters. I'm trying to think of all the different things you might need, a rollator,
Oxygen.
oxygen, anything like that. We then bring that into your home and we order it. And it's anything changes, any needs increase or decrease, we can manage that as well.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry.
you guys also, so my mother-in-law is in a facility, a memory care facility, so you guys go into whatever happens to be their home environment.
Exactly. It's the patient's home, wherever they're living.
Yeah.
Absolutely. With the exception of coming into a rehab or a hospital because they're already in a hospital setting. And the one thing wonderful about Angel Valley Hospice and all hospices is we're picked up 100% by Medicare if the
Okay.
patient is over 65 and on Medicare, obviously.
Right.
But you don't have to pay for anything, but think about it from the hospital point of view. If you're already currently in a hospital, we're unable to help you because you're in a hospital. If
Right.
you're already in a skilled nursing facility, you're already under the care of a hospital setting. So we come in when you are either discharged or if it's at the end of life, we can help a hospital at the last moments of life
Yeah.
as well.
So hospitals aren't necessarily hot. They don't necessarily have the hospice care, but they're under some type of care. People don't normally stay in a hospital that long, right? I mean, it,
Right.
yeah, if they're going,
They're discharged. They're
yeah,
discharged, and, the other side of the coin is they most of the time, our patients do not wanna pass away at home, and they don't want to spend their last weeks, months, year at home, outside of their home. They wanna be at home.
right, right. What about support given to families and caregivers? Is that in is does hospice do any of that?
I love that question because that's something that I think is really overlooked. We try to help the whole family and support the whole family and the caregivers involved. Um, we provide emotional care, psychological care, spiritual care. And here's something that a lot of people do not know. After a patient passes away, we provide up to 13 months of support, emotional, spiritual support after in the grieving period.
Yeah,
So 13 months is sort of arbitrary. I like to think of it as the first month, who knows what goes on after a loved one passes. You're sort of in a different mindset. But then after that, you realize you really need more support. And that's where we come in. We can support you for up to 13 months afterwards.
well,
I
then,
think of my husband. His first wife was on hospice following pancreatic cancer diagnosis, and she wanted to be at home. And so they set up a beautiful room for her. The hospice company came in. And unfortunately, somewhere or else, there was a miscommunication, and his hospice company did not share with him about the emotional support they could have given him after. And he spent a lot of time because he totally respects mental health capacity. And he spent a lot of time finding a grief support group or
um,
a counselor that could help him. Whereas, had the hospice company mentioned to him, you have this support. So I try to say it right up front so the family remembers it's so important to get
yeah.
mental health support afterwards.
If you think about 13 months, to me, it's you hit all those firsts, all the things that might come up, all the things you didn't know, that maybe
Yeah.
that other person took care of. That's so smart to do
Mm,
that length of time.
yes.
One of the things that I recently heard someone say, and I thought it was so interesting, and I wanted to ask you about it. They said people don't call hospice early enough. And I
Oh, yes. You're
yeah,
you're 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 listening to something that is so near and dear to my heart as well, because the earlier the better. Of course, we want to provide compassionate and dignified end of life support. But the longer you have that support, we find many patients survive longer. We want to support the family and help make the right decisions. But very often, a patient will come onto hospice care way too late in the last 24 to 48 hours.
oh gosh.
It's still useful, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
the earlier that the patient comes on, the more support the patient and the family has. And it's a much more gentle, compassionate, dignity filled way to end your life. And there's, as I said, emotional support, and the family can use that even longer. So it's a very difficult decision when to come on hospice. And hospice is a dirty word, it sounds so scary.
Right.
But we have to start to think of it as a really wonderful opportunity. So, therefore, the earlier you come on, the more help you get. And it's all basically covered by your Medicare insurance. So, there's not a longer expense. It doesn't affect you, it
Yeah.
will only help you.
Yeah. So if a family is trying, maybe they're struggling with that decision, I mean, obviously having a conversation, can they reach out to hospice on their own? How does that work? Do they have to have a doctor referral? What
That is a wonderful that is a great question. A lot of times people don't even consider hospice until they're either being discharged from a hospital, or a senior living community that they're staying in recommends it. But people can get the education that they need about hospice early. It's better to get the information and have it ready for when the time comes. And of course, that sounds very ghoulish, but it is a
Right.
good thing to equip yourself. It's very much like making your final arrangements. You want to have this information not when you're in crisis, but beforehand. Families can reach out. Now, that's partly what I do. I love to go around and educate. I educate groups, I educate doctors, I educate families
Yeah.
in when and how to go about seeking hospice help.
So let's say that somebody goes on hospice and some new development happens in, maybe they have cancer and there's some new development. People can come back off hospice. They're not like, oh, you're on hospice, that's it, you're not coming back off. They're not stuck, right?
No, you're always in control. The family's always part of the decision, and so is the patient. And we call them graduates. If
No.
someone can graduate, if we've helped them and get them to a point where they are stronger, or as you said, there's a new option available to them, we love graduating a patient. And you know what? It's an ebb and flow. You can come back, you could go off, you could come back, you go off. There is absolutely no limit that way. However, we always say that people sometimes, again, live longer if they're on hospice.
Yeah.
We have people up to, I mean, right now we have someone that's been with us for 2 years. As you said, your mother-in-law has been with us for several months now.
Yeah.
And we like to feel that we've given our patients a longer, more comfortable time. So, therefore, as you said, please make sure that we all spread the word. You can definitely, quote, fail hospice, and we call that a happy day.
Yeah. Yeah. um so when you think about hospice, we are talking about, end of life. And so how are those choices discussed with the family and with the patient, and how do they honor those end of life choices that people want to make? They do want to have control. People want, their wishes known
I
before they
want to
can.
reiterate, the
Yeah.
family and the patient are in total control. We make our suggestions, but we certainly can't force anyone to do anything. For instance, the decision for a do not resuscitate
Yeah.
order. Some families, it's against their culture, it's against their religion. They don't want to have a do not resuscitate order in place. Um, And an aside on that is, as long as they're aware of the good and the bad of that, the bad being if the patient has a problem and is ultimately hospitalized, we can no longer care for them temporarily while they're in the hospital, and very often just being transferred to the hospital will make them pass faster, and not during a hospice support.
Right.
So we recommend a do not resuscitate, for instance, but we totally honor they never have to sign it if they don't want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Another thing that we have to keep in mind is we also offer a social worker at least once a month or more often if the family needs it. So, besides our doctors, our nurses, our aides, a social worker will come out and discuss anything that you need to really explore in depth with as many family members as you need. We speak to so many family members and extended family members because we welcome questions. In addition to that, we have chaplains of many faiths and creeds that can guide people spiritually in making some of these decisions. And then we have a community liaison like myself. I can go and just talk turkey with a family and they can ask me. And as long as everyone recognizes I'm non medical, but
Yeah.
we can get all the medical answers we want from our team.
Got it. It's a lot of it's a lot to consider. I do think,
Mhm.
families need to know, luckily my mother-in-law was very clear in what she wanted before it got to the point where she couldn't tell us anymore. So, we know as a family. So I encourage families have those conversations. Those are tough
Yeah,
conversations to have, but they are important conversations to have.
absolutely. They're vital.
Yeah. I'm waiting to see if my dog is about to bark because somebody's coming in the door. Nope. That's
My cat's really going to get a treat after this.
good. um, okay, so Catherine, do you guys use volunteers with hospice?
We do,
Oh, okay.
and we welcome volunteers, and anybody that's interested can call directly to our office or let me know. But our office number is 469-249-8440, and we love volunteers. I am also starting something new in the fall. We're going to work with a school to have the children do some type of recognition of our patients. For instance,
Okay.
coming up at a holiday, we'll ask the children to make greeting cards, or maybe we'll videotape a greeting to them so that we can have outside volunteers who can't necessarily come and visit the patients for one reason or another
Yeah,
still provide some happiness and sunshine.
that's fun. I'm sure that they would love that. Who doesn't love that?
Absolutely. And I mean, there are so many other ways to volunteer. I mean, a visit, if the family is amenable, uh, having a pet visit or having a
Yeah,
musician visit. We all know what music does for memories, and it's just a wonderful awakening in many
yeah.
ways.
Interesting. Okay, well, that's good to know. So, um, those are lots of different and interesting ways people can use their time because I know people look for opportunities to volunteer things that make them feel good about themselves too, and
Yes.
can give back to people who might not be in as a good of a situation as they might be.
Well, and if any volunteers are listening out there, although you may come across a patient who is not very responsive, we know by studying the way the brain works that they hear us. They hear everything. And even if we bring them some joy that we can't see, we're still bringing joy.
Yeah, I love I love that.
I know, me too. A little tear,
I
right?
know, right? Well, thank you so much, Catherine. I do hope that people listening have gained some knowledge that they didn't have about hospice. And, if you guys come across that in your situation, please feel free to reach out to Catherine. She gave you guys the phone number. It's Angel Valley Hospice. I'm assuming you have a website.
Yes, it is. It's angelvalleyhospice.com.
There we go.
And even if people don't want to use our company, and we really wish you could, we would love to be in the position to educate you. People have questions. I'll answer any question because they're really difficult time to make a decision. And as I said before, you don't want to wait till the end to make these
Right.
decisions. These are difficult times. We want to get ahead of it and
And
make
what
educated decisions.
right. Speaking of that, tell people what your service area really is.
We actually cover the entire DFW area. We go
Okay.
north, south, east, and west. And as long as we have our medical team in the area, of course, we disperse them to the areas closest
Yeah.
to which they live.
And if someone's listening to this outside of the DFW Metroplex or outside of Texas, you guys certainly feel free to reach out to Catherine for what questions you
Yes,
might want to ask hospice people in your area to be sure that you're getting someone who's good. Because, like she said, there are a lot of hospice companies out there, and
yes.
I'm sure they're all different. And so you
Hmm.
want to be sure that that your needs are being met.
Absolutely. And I love being the resource queen. If someone's calling me from out of our area, I will work diligently to get them a really good option.
Awesome, awesome. I knew that about you. I knew you were a resource person.
Networking, networking.
Exactly, yeah. Alright, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Christy, for this opportunity. I really appreciate it, and so does Angel Valley Hospice.
Awesome.
Thank